Hey, this is Steven from RC Engineering, and welcome to my review of the Hobbymate Q100. This is going to be the review of this guy on 1-cell, and so I wanted to talk about it. I have since converted it to 2-cell, and I'm going to talk about what I think about this model, as this model is, at the time that I picked it up, maybe 3-4 months ago, was the cheapest possible quadcopter model you could possibly get that is bindable and programmable and all that stuff. The cheapest possible quadcopter that you could find on the internet at $43, all included. But it is a kit, and so you have to assemble it. And so I'm going to give you guys maybe upwards of 10 minutes talking about, well, I'm going to give you a few minutes talking about it here, and then the rest of it's footage. I'm looking over here at my editing PC. That's what's making all this noise in the background. That is up to 6.5 minutes of flight footage. Also, you could check out on my YouTube the Q100 clearing gates. That is also another video of the Q100 on 1-cell. I'm going to be soon uploading some footage of it on 2-cell, and maybe do a separate review of my thoughts about it on 2-cell. Okay, well, there's a screw that just... screw. Okay, so here it is. Here's the Q100. I actually was going to do a build video on this, but I ran into complications, which are some of the things I really want to talk about here. I really love the frame. The frame's made out of ABS, super durable, and haven't broke it, no problem. It's 100mm diagonal across motor to motor, and in the box comes with the 4 sets of motors, an 800 1-cell, no C, actually it says 25C rating, and it has a micro lossy. Comes with a canopy thing that goes over top. Comes with a camera with a separate VTX, and then the wires that go in, and also it has a NAS, I guess it's called an Alien NAS or something. I'll have to put a link in the description, but it's basically a NAS controller with the 10 amp MOSFETs on there. And comes with 8.5 millimeter motors with the 65 millimeter props, red props, which, if you guys don't know, is actually 66 millimeters is the maximum size for the multi-GP microclass. So technically this could fly in the microclass on 2S. 25 milliwatt transmitter. It comes with this this receiver. It's not this one, it's another one. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So this guy, there's a few things that I like about it and a few things that I don't like about it. Most of it are the parts that they chose to include with this guy. Number one, the VTX is okay. We get a lot of breakup. The camera's excellent. VTX probably not the best. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the board. So when you get the motors out of the box, they have no connector on them. But inside the box, it has the connectors for the board. And if you see there, the pitch is the 1.25 pitch. So when you solder these wires on here, it's very possible that you bridge it and blow out the MOSFET, which is actually what I did over here on this first MOSFET. Let me move the prop out of the way. And the MOSFET's right there. If you will look and pay attention to these two, this MOSFET right, where is it? Let me zoom. That MOSFET right there is a completely different looking MOSFET than that one right there, way bigger. The reason being is that I actually bridged these two here and caused it to blow the MOSFET on this drone right as I was about to start flying it. So really dumb idea to include motors that don't have a connector on them, and then include the connector and also have these wires so close together on the board. Because if this was what I'm reviewing it now is like your first ever scratch build sort of drone, this is a terrible idea for your first scratch build because of that problem. It would be different if all you have to do is put the connectors, if there's connectors on the motors, and you just have to solder the connectors onto the board and then plug the motors in. That's completely different because they're already separated out. It's already being held there for you. You just go onto the back and solder those on. But this guy does not do that. Also, another reason why I don't recommend it for that is that out of the box, it doesn't really have that best of a tune. If you look on the flight footage video coming up, I'm not doing any gates in this footage because I've already uploaded gate footage. And when I'm doing flips, the roll rate the rates out of the box are way too low. So, well, I think that they're good for learning, but they're not snappy enough for you to go and do a trick and be able to recover. But it does help you see when you're rolling to stop. So I do think that the rates out of the box are good for it. Another problem that I have, I don't know if it's because I swapped that MOSFET off, but the tune out of the box, when you go out of a turn, when you go out of a straight and you turn really hard, it will like wash out like that without you doing anything. So it'll just go forward and wash out. And you might see some of that in the footage. So obviously that has to do either hardware with that MOSFET or a tune. I haven't really messed with it yet. The next thing is the receiver it comes with. This is not the receiver it comes with. The receiver it comes with is with a bind button for a DSMX receiver or a DSM2 receiver, which I've never heard of a DSM2 receiver come with a bind button. I never actually got that receiver to ever bind, so I had to contact them back and have them give me partial funding back so I could go and buy an actual DSMX micro receiver, which is absolutely awesome. I highly recommend this receiver. But I would be very careful when you buy it. Chances of that receiver being broken, I think, is slim. It's probably just the wrong receiver. So you might buy a DSMX and they're just shipping out the wrong receiver. The DSM2 DSMX, and they're just shipping out the wrong receivers. So if you fly something else, I don't think you'll have a problem because most of those other quads will have bind buttons on it. But every time I see a DSM2 with a bind button now, I'm kind of like, that's probably not the right receiver. But another thing, I'm not a big fan of this storage right here. What I would definitely do is put Velcro right in the center of mass and stick your battery there with Velcro. Because once I went to 2-cell of 430, right, Venom, when I put it here, it likes to go like this because there's just so much weight back here out of the center of mass. Put your battery in the center of mass. So that's the first thing that I would do. Is put your receiver down here and put the battery right here in center of mass. Then it flies extremely great. This thing rips on 2S, and it's really, really fast on 1-cell if you're running a higher C rating battery. And the next thing I would do is get a Nanotech 1S and run it with a high C, the 65 to 130 C rating battery. Like my roommate's built his own custom quad, and I just uploaded a video for that today. And it's running 2-cell now, but when he was running 1-cell high C rating battery, it was just ripping around. Other than that, I mean, the frame is great. Normally the frame comes with these bumpers. I took them off. Let me grab them really quick. I took them off because they fall off, and then once they fall off, it doesn't sit right anymore, so I just took them all off, and now it just sits down like that. Also, I'm going to get more cooling with 2S through the bottom of these motors. Right through there, you see. Alright, that is pretty much it. Most of the stuff is just hot glue, so that is one thing that I did not like, was blowing that MOSFET, because these connectors are so close together. They don't come with the connectors. These are 2S motors from Furry. These are the original motors, and as you see, they have no connector at the end of them. And it's just so close together that they get bridged, and you blow out a MOSFET. And then you basically have to replace the MOSFET like I did. VTX is okay. You'll see in the footage. The rest of it will be in the footage, and I will talk more about it in the footage. But this is basically where I'm just showing you the quad in front of you. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the rest of the footage. So altogether this video will be about 15-minute long review. Alright, stay tuned for the flight footage. Hey, this is Steven, back with the Hobbymate Q100 review with 1-cell. I'm out here at this local park. This is previous recording using my E800Ds, which I'm soon going to be selling. This is all bone stock Hobbymate Q100 running 1-cell. I believe I'm only running here. I'm running these. Yeah, I should only be running the 800 milliamp hour 1-cell 25C. And running the 65mm props. Everything else bone stock. I'm racing with my buddy here, my roommate. He's got a we're starting to strip this what's it called, the QDI RC or RDI, RC, or whatever, 10 millimeter brush motors, and it's geared with 5-inch props. So completely bone stock PIDs, everything. Out of the box, it does run pretty well. Like I said, I had this problem with the whole like sliding after a turn and stuff like that, which I have yet to resolve. I haven't really worked on it much, but I've actually started to see it less and less. I'm wondering if it's because I had to swap out that stock MOSFET, which I fried because I basically bridged the solder on the two, tried to turn on the motor, and blew the MOSFET. As you can see, it's pretty stable. At this point, I still had the battery sitting on the back tray. That is a big no-no that I would suggest you not do. As you see right there a second ago, when it slid, that's kind of the sliding that I'm talking about. That it did right there. I didn't do that. It does it by itself. But as you can see, the VTX is pretty good. The camera is really, really good. The clarity is really, really good on the camera. I will put a link in the description of where you could find this drone, and there you could find more specifications on it. But you could just see how out of the box the rates as far as the roll and stuff like that are very... Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. It has to do with the recorder. The rates are very, very low out of the box. So all these flips are really, really slow. They're kind of just like barrel roll flips. Again, all of this on one cell, but my roommate ran one cell on his. His rates were way higher, and he was able to get those snappy rolls. I think it just has to do with the rates that came out of the box, which, again, I wanted to review this guy. Bone stock, besides a update on the firmware without erasing. So that's what I did. I'm just flying it straight bone stock. Now like I said, I've ran a 2-cell on this guy, and now I'm doing like some. Me and my roommate are racing each other in this park around a track, and we've just picked up some gates, which I'll have to review maybe next week or so. But I do really, really like the drone. It's just that some of these choices that the company has made it a very, very hard thing to recommend because of some of those choices. Mainly the motors not coming with a connector, because the chances of a newbie coming out and wanting to make this their first drone, they're going to try to solder these motors together, blow a MOSFET, and not be able to fix it. Because actually I had one of my dad's friends, my dad runs some I don't know why it's got this kind of ghosting thing. Just kind of ignore that. It had been my recorder on my E800Ds. But my dad works for a chip company. He runs the building, and so he had one of the people there that test chips to basically reflow a MOSFET on there for me. Whatever MOSFET that he found around it. And as you see, it works. So I was never actually able to fly it with that original MOSFET. But I do... The VTX is fine. Camera is excellent. The prop choice is really, really good. 65 millimeters. Again, like I said, 1 millimeter below the minimum to fly multi-GP. And yeah, so overall, it's a great quad, I think. But it's not for people that is their first build. For example, this was my first brush build that was DIY, and again, I wanted to have it for my channel to review the cheapest quadcopter I could possibly find, which this was the cheapest quadcopter that I could possibly find, where I could program the board and do all that. So maybe even I'll continue with this drone and do a series of getting this guy to be bulletproof. But as you can see, out of the box, this guy is not just pick up and fly for a newbie. It's you have to do quite a bit of work. So yeah, I mean, if you're not a newbie and you want to build a brushed, this is definitely something cool to start with. It's 1S and 2S capable on the same board. You do have to swap out the motors. The original motors are not rated for 2S. I swapped them with some Furry B2S motors, and yeah. So in closing, we have the end of the flight footage coming up here. Number one, obviously the punch out is way low on this battery. It's not the best battery in the world. It's only a 25C, 800 milliamp hour, and it's stored on the back. That's going to cause you more problems. Like I said, put some Velcro on the bottom, store it right in the middle of your drone, and you should be in a lot better shape. That's number one. Number two, when you can, go 2-cell, but there is a big problem with 2-cell on this board, which I'll say right now, just in case you're buying this to go straight to 2-cell and not stick with 1-cell, is that on the board, there's not really a place on the top side that has a 5-volt out. Usually where I attach the VTX, I solder it right to the battery, but the VTX is only really supports 5-volt. So when you put a 7.4 volt on there, it kind of freaks out and just starts flashing red, not telling you what the channel is. So far, I have not blown it out yet, so it will take it. It's just that it won't flash to show your channel. It just flash red saying that there's a problem, that, hey, you're going to blow me up or whatever. So that's another thing for 1-cell. Other than that, I mean, if you get the right motors, it rips on 1-cell. It's perfect for 1-cell. So you guys will see more videos of this guy running on 2-cell, me racing with my roommate. And also we got some gates, so we're going to start, and the gates are spec'd for micro racing class, which is the size of drone for this guy. And also we have some micro brushed, so those gates are also multi-GP standard for brushed 2S and also brushless 2S as well. So we're going to be doing some racing at that park, and I have a new DVR that I've been using. It's the Eachine Pro DVR, and I have new goggles which are actually cheaper than my older goggles. They're Eachine VR 006s, which those Pro DVRs are recording HD. So I hope you guys liked this review. I do recommend it, but not for beginners. If you're in intermediate pilot and intermediate builder, you've built a few brushless before and you want to step into the brushed, this is a cheap way of getting into it that's even cheaper than putting together a tiny whoop. So this I would highly recommend for intermediate pilots that will be able to go into the firmware Betaflight or CleanFlight or Butterflight and be able to modify the PIDs and the rates and be able to solder it together correctly without bridging it. Be very, very careful and focused on that. Otherwise, the components are really good. Just swap out that battery 1-cell to a nanotech or a graphene or whatever you could find, or an LIHV 1-cell, and attach it to the middle of the board underneath, and you should be good to go. So that's pretty much it for this video. Please stay tuned for more stuff talking about this quad. I definitely want to do more and more and keep following it. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching my review of the Hobbymate Q100. Check out the description for all the links for further info, more technical data. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Peace.